Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Breeze. Breezeway Productions The Breeze, where we bring you the latest in independent films and film festival news. And we're excited to kick off our coverage of this year's Doc NYC with our first film that is going to be in the festival this year called Death and Taxes. And we have the director, producer, and writer, Justin Schein, here with us to talk about it. How you doing today, Justin?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Let's just start it off by talking about the film. So tell us a little bit about it.
Okay, well, this Death and Taxes is a film about taxes, but at its heart, it's really a personal film about me and my relationship with my dad. Um, and as a filmmaker growing up, I did a lot of documenting, and I documented my relationship with him. And he was somebody that grew up and really, in a lot of ways, lived the American dream. Grew up poor in Brooklyn during the Depression and became very successful. And as he got older, became more and more focused, like so many, on reducing his taxes, and in particular his estate taxes. And as a rambunctious son, he and I used to fight about these things, about politics, and you know, as I got older and had a family, it changed my perspective a bit about this issue. I understood his desire to want to, leave security for his family as anybody would.
Sure.
But the world has changed too, and the impact of his this focus on reducing taxes for people who are very well off is having real implications on our democracy, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I just started off wanting to explore this. So I interweave this personal relationship with the issue around taxes and economics.
So how did you know when you were planning it out to make the balance between what to share with your family life, which is very personal because anybody that watches this film will able to have an intimate understanding of you and your family, and you're very open to that in this documentary. So for viewers that are interested, they will really get a feeling of knowing you and your family. So you're just really putting it all out there. And then on the other half of it, you also have what goes on with death and taxes, the estate tax, with individuals that are very well based in it and that are very familiar with that subject matter. So how did you lay it out and plan how much you wanted to cover with your family and how much you wanted to cover with those professionals?
Yeah, I mean, that's the challenge always with documentary is finding the balance. And I was really, lucky to have wonderful collaborators, editors, and co-director to because honestly, when something's so personal, you can lose your perspective. Um, but I also know after I've been making documentaries for 30 years, I know that it's really important to have character-based stories, and so if you're, nobody's going to want to watch a feature film about taxes. And as you said, this story about a father and a son is kind of universal.
Yeah.
Um, I did set out to talk to other people about their taxes, and it seems, and maybe we all know this, that talking about money is one of the last taboos in our society. People, particularly people with money, don't want to talk about it's a private thing, and so it made sense to kind of turn the camera around and use my own family. But it's challenging to balance kind of the privacy and of this personal story, and I really did focus on my relationship with my dad in particular, and he and my mom. I mean, they were very open uh, to it. It's not I love my dad. He passed away in 2008, and this is, not a hit job on him. This is really showing the complexity of this issue, which, I think a lot of people will find very familiar.
Yeah, this is like a love story that had a lot of growing pains, so to say. Your relationship, obviously, families are complicated, relationships are complicated, but you found light in the darkness, and then kind of a reflection on life as you get older, the things of what you're focusing on when you're young, when you're functioning as a business adult, and then in your later years. Did you find this process healing for you as you did it to feel like it's a completion of your relationship with your dad, or that you're able to heal old wounds between you two?
Yeah, I mean, my dad and I we're on good terms, and actually, that's another aspect of this film that I think is really important, particularly in this time where we're so divided. Is this is a story about a family where people disagree about things, but they also love and respect each other a lot, and so we can talk about things and disagree, but at the heart of it, we all want the same things for each other, which
Yeah.
is security and health and so that's an important lesson. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting moving to a new phase. I've been working on this film for a few years, and
Yeah.
even though my dad died, more than a decade ago, I've kind of spent a lot of time with him
Yeah.
in the making of this film.
Sure.
That is an interesting moment for me. Yeah.
The educational factor that you have in it also when you have the professionals that come in to talk about it, like Mr. Wright, who talks about the concepts of finances and then how the estate tax only applies to a small few individuals with where their net worth is like over 23 million. Then the estate tax comes in. I believe that was the stat. So, do you want this to be also educational for the public to understand how to deal with that phase of life when you're with your parents or you're looking to set up your financial institutions, and that that you're more financially literate? Is that something that you're also encouraging with this doc?
Definitely. I mean, my hope is that this, opens a discussion about these things, and this is a topic that, for the last really 30 years since Reagan has become politicized in a way
Yeah.
where people assume that the estate tax it might affect them, and the reality is it affects less than 0.1% of American estate families, less than 4,000 out of more than 2.5 million deaths a year.
Yeah.
Um, but the fact of the matter is that there are people with so much wealth, and I'm not suggesting or looking for like a redistribution of wealth. My point is that people uh, need to pay their fair share, and it's just too easy to avoid. Um, and it's this self-perpetuating thing where when people don't pay their taxes legally, it degrades things like education and other things that we need. And then people feel like, oh, why am I going to pay my taxes? The government sucks.
Yeah.
When they, so
You show that.
yeah, my hope is that this does kind of educate, but also like it's a question of who we want to be as a country. Taxes seem boring, but they are really a reflection of our priorities. And I have always thought of America as a meritocracy. I mean, my dad lived that, but he also took advantage of things like the GI Bill that paid for his college and his law school, and the foundation that the country provides, and that opportunity to move ahead. Social mobility has really stalled in America, and so I think it's important that that be part of the discussion.
Sure. You definitely have discussed the history of the issue, which has been brought up by president after president after president. And my final question for you is, as we look towards the future, we know that you're a filmmaker and that you've documented with all of these specialists for how things currently are. Do you see things getting better in the future with regard to this topic? Just your closing thoughts on that.
I mean, it's amazing. I started this in 2017, right after that election, and we have come full circle in a lot of ways, and we're at the precipice uh, of the expiration of the Trump 2017 tax cuts, which now will almost surely be extended, and there's a price for that in terms of a lot of things, including the national debt. So this is as important as ever, and I feel like, as I said, this beyond the numbers and all that, this gets to fundamental questions of who we want to be as a country in terms of what our priorities are. Um, you know, people's like my dad said, I don't want to give money to people who don't work, um, and I understand those feelings. But the reality is that there's a ton of tax cuts that wealthy people take advantage of, and that is a handout in its own way. And so there are priorities, and we need to have an open discussion. Is really what I'm looking for.
Yeah, and I believe that your documentary does that. Death and Taxes, playing at Doc NYC. Where can people go to find out more about the documentary?
Well, we have a website, deathandtaxesfilm.com, which we'll have a list of screening dates and other things like that. And we have, the social media, Death and Taxes on Facebook and Instagram and X as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time today to talk about the doc. I thoroughly enjoyed it this morning. I think it's a beautiful look into your life, also with the subject matter of the estate tax, death and taxes, how it's been throughout history. Very much enjoyed it. So we hope our audience is able to check it out. And again, thank you for spending time with us, Justin Schein, director, writer, producer of Death and Taxes.
Thank you so much. Great.
Thank you.